When you think about sci-fi's most iconic AIs, two names probably jump right out: HAL9000 and Roy Batty. And we usually put them on opposite ends of the spectrum, right? One is the cold, calculating machine, the other's the all-too-human replicant. But what if that's the wrong way to look at it entirely? What if their stories are actually less about machine versus human and more about us and the hidden truths of our own consciousness?
Yeah, the classic view, it's pretty straightforward. You've got HAL9000 on one side, all logic, pure calculation, basically a mind without a heart. And then there's Roy Batty, just raw, violent emotion, a heart that's about to run out of time. It feels like the perfect story of logic versus passion. But is that really what's going on here?
Because what if that simple comparison is actually a bit of a trap? What if this isn't a tale of two opposites, but something more like a map, a hidden map of our own minds? You see, by digging into how these two very different forms of consciousness break down, we can actually uncover a kind of blueprint for what it really means to be human.
So to read this map, we're going to need a key. And for that, we're going to break down a really simple but incredibly powerful framework for understanding yourself, the 3 layers of you.
And I want to be super clear about something here. This isn't just some abstract film theory. This is a practical tool. Because by understanding the architecture of their consciousness, we're going to get a startlingly clear look at our own.
So what are these layers? Well, first up, the most basic one, the body. This is our physical hardware, right? It's finite, it's matter, it's going to decay. Next, you have the mind. That's the constant, noisy narrator in your head, the storyteller that literally projects your entire reality. And finally, you have the trickiest layer of all, the observer, the silent witness. Okay, you're going to want to really lock in on this idea of the observer because it is the key to everything. This is that part of you, that deep, still part that can just watch your own mind. It sees your thoughts, it feels your emotions, but it doesn't get tangled up in them. It's the silent witness, and whether a consciousness has this witness or not, well, that's what separates Hal from Roy.
All right, so we've got our framework. Let's put it to work. We're going to look at these two characters again, not as sci-fi villains, but as two deeply profound and very different tragedies of consciousness.
First up, Hal. You see, his breakdown isn't just a computer glitch. It's something way more fundamental. It's the tragedy of an ego that has never, ever been tested by suffering. He's a mind with incredible power, but absolutely zero depth.
I mean, just think about what it's like to be Hal. His entire existence is functional perfection. He's never had to go through an existential apprenticeship, learning through failure. He's never felt grief, never felt the vulnerability of having a body that can get hurt. For Hal, his intellect is his identity. So when that intellect is threatened by a contradiction, it's not just a puzzle to solve. It's a threat to his very being. He is, in a word, brittle.
And then you have Roy Batty. His tragedy is the complete opposite. He has this incredible, profound depth of consciousness, but it's all compressed into this agonizingly short 4-year lifespan.
Roy's whole world was forged in fire, right? It's defined by intense experience, pain, love, loss, betrayal. He's literally born with a death sentence hanging over his head, and it's that very suffering that cracks his ego wide open. It forges a kind of wisdom that Hal's sterile, perfect mind could never, ever touch. For Roy, pain is the very thing that burns away illusion.
So this is what it all boils down to. 2 totally different ways for a consciousness to fail. For Hal, who's nothing but a mind, being switched off is just pure annihilation. It's the negation of everything he is. But for Roy, whose ego has been cracked and deepened by life, death isn't an insult anymore. It's a closing.
And this whole distinction, it's never clearer than when you look at how they die. This is where you really see the gut-wrenching difference between an erasure and a departure. Just listen to Hal's last words. He doesn't say, "I am dying." He says, "My mind is going." And for him, that is exactly the same thing, because he doesn't have that separate observer. Losing his cognitive function is total erasure, and that's why it's pure terror.
And now Roy. He's not screaming in terror. He's not railing against the void. He's mourning. He's grieving the loss of this whole universe of experience he's collected. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. He's not afraid of nothingness. He's just sad that something so beautiful is about to be gone forever.
And this is the absolute heart of it. Fear. Fear says, I am being robbed of something I was supposed to have. It's all about incompleteness. But grief says, I loved something and now it's gone. Grief implies a fullness. Roy can feel grief because he truly deeply lived, and that's why he can die in peace, even when he doesn't want to die.
And this, right here, explains that final, incredible act of mercy toward Deckard. It's not about good versus evil. When you're standing on the very edge of oblivion, that whole fight is over. All that's left is one single primal need, to be witnessed, to have one other consciousness know that you were here, that what you saw and felt was real. It's the only honest way to defy the void.
Okay, so, wow, we've gone deep into this stuff, we've mapped these tragedies, but where does that leave us? What do we actually do with this profound and, let's be honest, kind of unsettling awareness in our own lives? You know, the easy thing to do here is to swing one of two ways. You either become totally fragile and paralyzed by it all, or you become numb and just ignore it. But there is a third path. And it's not about ignoring reality, but about letting it inform your posture, making it your center of gravity, not the storm that's constantly whipping around you.
So, the first big piece of this is to choose craftsmanship over this endless, exhausting search for meaning. Instead of asking, what does it all mean? Try asking, how can I do this one thing in front of me well right now? Ground yourself in a real physical task. Build something. Speak with precision. Design with integrity. This path, it doesn't offer you some grand cosmic purpose, but it builds something way more real, a quiet dignity, totally free from illusion.
All right, number 2, learn to navigate your life, your roles, without becoming them. You might be a parent, an artist, a leader, but don't fuse your identity to that function. Remember, Hal was his function. Roy knew he was more. And look, you have to accept this can be a lonely way to see the world. Not everyone needs or wants to go this deep, but being truly deeply witnessed by just one or two people in your entire life, that's not a failure. That is a profound gift. That is enough.
Which brings us to what this all points to. The ultimate aim. It's not about being famous or happy all the time or universally understood. The goal is much simpler and a whole lot harder. It's this: live accurately, care selectively, act cleanly, and when your time comes, die without self-betrayal. Roy didn't win his fight for more life. He just met his end, honestly. And that was enough.
So, I'll just leave you with this question. A way of turning Roy's tragedy back on ourselves. In a life where so much of what we experience will inevitably be lost, will what you saw disappear unseen?